We are bringing the podcast into the real world with our first ever in-person event, an evening of curiosity and conversation hosted in downtown Chicago, February 19th, 2026. Picture an intimate dinner party stacked with speakers, all guests from some of your favorite episodes, and space to make new child-free friends. Seats are limited, so you can read all the details and get your ticket by visiting Curious Life of a Child-Free Woman /2026 event. Welcome to Curious Life of a Child-Free Woman, a podcast exploring today's most interesting topics through the lens of a happy child-free life. Every week, I chat with experts inspiring us to think differently, live intentionally, and find fulfillment on our terms. Whether you're child-free or seeking a space where parenthood isn't part of the conversation, you are welcome here. It's not about comparison, it's about possibility. Before we start the episode, do you know about the Curious Life Club on Substack? It's a free community to enjoy bonus content and sneak peeks, and to connect with other cool women like you. Join us at CuriousLifeOfAChildFreeWoman.substack.com. Now let's get curious together. We have talked about personal style on this podcast before, and I still think the topic of fashion can get a bad rap for being shallow or flighty, or even worse, rooted in consumerism and waste. But no matter what we feel about it, annual spending on women's apparel is over $1 trillion globally. So that means as a planet, we are spending $1 trillion every year on women's apparel. That number shows me that fashion does play a huge role in our lives, but it doesn't have to be all about just buying more. I want to understand why clothing matters societally, individually, and what we're really trying to accomplish or communicate by participating in this massive industry. That's why I am so excited to be joined today by Ellie Richards, a stylist and founder of Nuude Studio. Ellie approaches fashion through the lens of psychology, helping women understand not just what to wear, but why we wear it, and the positive, really important role style can play in our own self-expression. Welcome, Ellie.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you. Let me just tell everybody listening, Ellie's YouTube channel is amazing. That's how I found her, and I was sucked in immediately by her videos because of this phrase, fashion psychology. And I think sometimes we come at this from the perspective of marketing. What in the marketing campaign is making us want something or making us buy something. But you have shown me that fashion psychology has a lot more to do with how we feel about what we're wearing. So can you just tell us, what does fashion psychology mean?
Yeah, so the crux of fashion psychology is basically how your clothes influence how you think and feel and behave, but then also how other people perceive you. So essentially, an item of clothing represents something symbolic, and whatever you perceive that as is how you're going to feel that day. So, for example, a blazer holds this authoritative power. So, immediately when you put it on, suddenly your brain goes, oh, we need to work, or we're feeling confident, or vice versa. If you're going to a test or something, or you need to present something and you're wearing a wool cardigan, and that signals comfort and sleep and rest to you, your brain's going to relate that to the scenario. So that's the sort of very, very simple breakdown of it. There are so many theories around different areas that you can focus on, but the crux is your clothes every single day are sending signals to your brain and then also to other people. And so that's the overview of it.
I want to start with the signals they send to our brain, because I feel like there are two pieces of this that you just outlined. It's what does what we wear mean for us and change the way we behave? And then the separate piece that we'll get to is what does it say to other people about us? So if we start with what it says to us, I heard you talk about this white coat study, and that helped me. Can you tell people what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. So enclosed cognition is the study, and it's basically fashion psychology does root back to 90s, but in 2012, the study was done that was really the breakthrough for fashion psychology, and it underpins all the other theories. And so basically what it was is that they had two groups, and they told one group that they were going to be putting on a white lab coat, and then they told the other group that it was a painter's coat. And they were the exact same coats, which was quite fascinating. But the way they were told, they then felt a certain way about the coat. And then they got them to do cognitive tasks, performative tasks. And the group that was told that it was a lab coat significantly outperformed the group that was a painter's coat. And so that basically started this idea that clothing has meaning. And it's not just this shallow thing that you should care about what you wear, because it really does. You're basically sending these signals every single day. And yeah, so that's called enclosed cognition. And I reference it all the time. One of my favorite theories. And as I said, underpins a lot of all the other studies.
It's so crazy. We never think that. It's like we have our brain, we have our skill set, we have our capacity to do a task, to do work, whatever. And then separately, we get dressed every day. I don't think we think about the one impacting the other, which is really what that study shows. The community that has developed from this podcast is incredible, and I am so excited to meet in real life. We're hosting our first in-person event, an evening of curiosity and conversation focused on the power of self-expression. Picture a luxurious dinner party, luxurious drinks, mingling, mixing here in downtown Chicago on February 19th, 2026. And the event is also stacked with speakers from some of your favorite episodes. Trisha Brooke is delivering a custom keynote on the power of using our authentic voice for positive influence. We have a self-expression panel featuring sustainability expert Ashley Piper, transformative wardrobe stylist Shelley Carlson, and nervous system expert Olivia Marie. The event is going to be kicked off with an intention-setting meditation hosted by Nadine Cherry. These are the voices we already love, and now we have the opportunity to meet face-to-face. Come to learn, ask questions, connect with cool child-free women, and embrace the kind of inspiration that lasts through the entire year. Seats are intentionally limited to keep this intimate, and tickets are first come, first serve. So if you've been listening to the podcast and thinking, I want to be part of a community of women like this is your invitation. Grab your ticket by visiting curiouslifeofachildfreewoman.com/2026 event. I cannot wait to see you there.
And on top of that, we send the signal every day, but also first impressions happen in a split second, right? And what people don't realize is that your clothing really, really impacts your body posture and your eye contact and your confidence. And so if you're not confident or not feeling good in what you're wearing, it doesn't feel like your true self and your personal style, then you're going into a situation with first impression specifically, not representing who you are and not feeling good about that. And that can really play such a huge role, like a flow on effect. Think about jobs or careers or interviews that you're trying to go for. Think about when you're entering in a social situation where you're trying to meet people and you're trying to show up as the best version of you. And if you have that disconnection, it's called cognitive dissonance between who you are and what you're wearing, then you're not showing up as the best version of yourself. You're not showing your personality. And I just feel like it can be honestly life-changing when you start to realize the importance of it.
When you put it through that lens, it's name a situation where I don't want to show up as my best self. That doesn't exist. It doesn't matter. Like you said, socially or professionally, I always hope to bring my best self to the occasion, and I might not connect that to picking out my outfit. Knowing what you know about this, why do you think this works? What is the mechanism? Is it about self-confidence? Is it about self-expression? If we're told that we're dressed like a doctor versus being dressed like a painter, why does that make the output that we deliver different?
Yeah, so essentially, I think it's so important because, for example, every single day when I'm picking out an outfit, I'm going, what am I trying to do today? First of all, what is my day involved? And then what do I want other people to perceive me as? And I start in that way. And then ultimately, my brain, then it feeds into how I'm then feeling. And when the pieces in your wardrobe represent the past version of you, maybe you've just started a new job or you've just moved countries and you've got this wardrobe that's representing your past self, there's the dissonance. And it basically doesn't allow you to be going forward and being that future person that you're trying to be. There's also this theory called self-concept clarity, which basically says when people feel the most confident, they have this clear, stable sense of who they are. And so when your identity does change, your career change, your age change, your confidence and lifestyle change, but your wardrobe doesn't, there's this discomfort. And when you have that feeling of discomfort, you're then showing up unconsciously, probably, or subconsciously in a state of discomfort to others and in social situations. And if you think about the way that you interact with other people, and there's that underlying sense of I'm unsure of myself, it's pretty obvious when you say it like that, but you might not be feeling like you're actually doing that to yourself. It might all just be under the surface. And it really does start with the choices you make in your wardrobe and the pieces you decide to bring in.
This stuff is so fascinating, seriously, because our own identity and the way we see ourselves. Do you feel like the pandemic brought some of this stuff to the surface? I'm just thinking before COVID happened, I was younger, obviously. It was years ago. I was going into an office. I was walking to work every day. I had this specific role. I had a specific style, and I felt good about my style. Then there was this stretch of random, mysterious time where my job changed, my weight changed, I got older, I was going out less, I started working from home. Who wears high-waisted pants working from home? Where when I went to the office, I was wearing them every day, right? So on the other side of that, it just felt like everything was brought into focus. None of this stuff feels like me anymore. I don't want to go back to what I was wearing in 2019, but it's all I have in my closet. And now I don't know what to do with myself. Have you seen that from other women where that accelerated a disconnect because we shifted during that period?
Absolutely. There was such a massive movement. There was two sides to it. The first was that COVID, we were all working from home. And why would you put on a nice outfit, right? Everyone was just like sweatpants, nice knits. I'm not seeing anyone. I'm literally sitting at my desk at home, and it's just so unimportant. People were lethargic. They were like, I can't work from home. Things like it's so unmotivating, all of this stuff. But basically, you're sending these signals to your brain where it's like, you're in a calm state right now. Of course, your brain's not going to be switched on. So there was that side. And then coming out of that world back into reality, into going to the office, or I got even going back to the supermarket and things, people were just like, oh crap, I don't know how to represent myself anymore, and I don't know how to dress. And you've then changed. It's almost been 3 years of growth, right? And also that time alone really allowed people to think about what they want to be doing, how they want to be spending their time. When you've made those decisions to progress and be this new version of you, and your wardrobe is that 2 year previous, then you're just, this doesn't represent me. I don't know what to wear, and I don't feel right in what I'm wearing. So absolutely, I've had so many clients that have spoken about that, and it's been like a real journey just trying to figure out what colors represent their personality, who they're trying to be. And then also the other side to that is that because of COVID, there was also this almost quite a massive society shift around what people could wear to the office. People are only going a couple of days a week, right? So I don't know what it's like in the US, but I'm in New Zealand and based here, and it just felt like people are only going in a wee bit, half a day. And so suddenly all of the attire started to not be so professional, and there was a bit more leniency there. When you don't have a uniform, right? That's almost the hardest part. When suddenly it's like a mufti day at school and you don't have a uniform, you're like, oh gosh, everyone's going to see who I am and what my style is. And you feel that bit of angst.
We say we want freedom in all things. So the idea, like, don't control me, don't box me in with a uniform. But then it's like when you really do have total freedom and maybe you do feel a little bit disconnected from the clothes that are in your closet today, it's now what? You can feel lost in that. And I don't know if that sounds silly, but it isn't, because to the things that you're pointing out here, we work so hard to make these evolutions in ourselves. We want to get the promotion. We want to grow in our relationships. Everybody's doing the work. Everybody's going to therapy. We're doing all this stuff to progress emotionally and intellectually and to work on our own self identity. And then it's like, this is an important piece of that, that if we leave that behind, I feel like we're missing out on living into the full potential of all this work that we're doing through other methods.
100%. Yeah. It's all related, right? It's a part of you. And I feel very passionate about it, as you can imagine. It's literally your clothes represent your personality and who you are. And it's important to invest in that, I think.
Tell me more about why you are so passionate, because I can feel it. And that's why it's exciting to listen to you and to watch your videos. Tell us more about your history, how you got into this, and what makes you find meaning in this work now.
I have always had a fascination for psychology and the way we think. I studied customer experience design, and that's all based on consumer psychology and behavior. And basically in New Zealand, maybe 4 or 5 years ago now, there was no way to shop sustainably, and a lot of passion and sustainability as well. And I thought there was a gap in the market here. Co-founded a online fashion boutique that specialized in sustainable fashion. So we bought brands from around the world that were already doing amazing things and brought them to New Zealand. And unfortunately, with sustainable fashion, there's a lot longer lead times. Sometimes it was like 12 months to create a garment, and that's amazing. But it meant that we were ordering very, very far in advance, and we just had the worst timing. It was like right when COVID hit and we were locked down, and we had all these pieces and we were trying to photograph and try to sell. And it was really, really challenging. What was the worst part about it is that we did all this research. People said that they wanted to shop sustainably and that they're willing to pay more for a sustainable item. And when it came down to it and they were presented with the options, that's not always the case. When people aren't buying the clothes in that world, it's just like this awful, awful cycle of things devaluing because they're suddenly not on trend. And we were trying to buy anything that was going to be outdated, but when stock sits there, it loses its value. And that was a really big eye opener to me and really frustrating. And I was just like, there's got to be something deeper going on here. What is going on? And I decided to research into psychology of why we buy. And then overlapping that with fashion, I found fashion psychology. And I'm not a psychologist, but I'm an enthusiast. I just found all these studies and I just thought they were so fascinating. And clothes cognition was a big one, dopamine dressing. And from a sustainability perspective, why someone is presented with a high quality t-shirt. This is an example I use a lot, but it's a white t-shirt, right? And it's like maybe $100. It's made with organic cotton. It's ethically created. It's really high quality, beautiful. And you put that next to a white t-shirt that's from H&M that's an eighth of the price, maybe even less of that. And this consumer then has this choice. I can then stick with my values, which is super important to me, and buy something that's more expensive, or I can buy something that's cheap and no one would actually know. They pretty much look the same. One's going to last you longer and better for the environment, and the other isn't. And it's just going to serve a very short amount of time for you. What was happening is that no one can see your choice. So that is completely a deeper value set for you. And if it's not strong enough, a lot of the case it isn't, then you're just going to default to something that's more affordable so that you can buy more in the other areas. But when it's all put in context, of course, people want to show, they want a badge of honor if they're spending more money on a sustainable item. So those brands that are really sustainable, they really thrive off patterns and designs that are quite well known because people associating them with a sustainable brand, and I'm getting kudos for buying from that brand. And then the same with labels, Dior or Chanel on them, showing people that you've spent a certain amount of money, not in the sustainability lens, but in a high quality luxury lens. There was all these very, very fascinating things. And I started to post about it online. People loved it. The feedback was absolutely amazing. And over time, I just wanted to give that information. I didn't want to monetize it in any way. I just feel like there's a way that your clothing can literally change people's lives. And I've seen that firsthand. All of my clients just say the most insane thing. Sometimes I read it and I'm like, oh, that's so nice. And I'll read it to someone else and they're like, oh my gosh, they got that job that they think they weren't going to get, or they suddenly lost all this weight, or they feel amazing and they just can't fathom that finding a new wardrobe, or even decluttering their wardrobe has allowed them to do that. I'm desensitized to it now, but it's actually just one of the most special things ever. And that's just helped me develop what I want to do. And every single day I get to do that. And I'm so incredibly grateful for the work and the career and the job that I do around making people feel good.
I'm happy for you and I'm happy for us because we need this education in the world. And sustainability comes up often on this show. It's important to me. It's important to a lot of people listening. But I think in the fashion space and the textile space specifically, it does feel like this almost insurmountable problem. So it's interesting to hear you did this, you tried this, right? And like you said, people have all of these things we say about that we want to shop sustainably, and it's not our fault. There just aren't enough sustainable brands, and we don't know where to find things that are ethically made. And then people like you put in the research, the time, the intention to craft something, to offer something that really checks those boxes. And then it's, well, for the t-shirt, I'm going to go to H&M. So I'm sure it was frustrating. It's frustrating to me trying to look at it from all sides of the equation as somebody who, of course, has participated in buying cheap stuff. It's funny how that connects back to personal style. When we hear that we're spending $1 trillion a year, not $1 trillion total, like $1 trillion every single year, we're clearly buying a massive amount of things. And yet, women aren't reporting that they feel more stylish than ever or more confident than ever. We're not connecting the consumption of the stuff with how that actually makes us feel and how it relates to us individually and expressing ourselves. So I think what you've done to go into personal styling, I almost feel like, yes, I hope we get to a place where there are so many stores where we're all buying 4 things a year and they're really sustainably made. But in the meantime, I think another approach is to understand our style and buy less because we know exactly what we're doing and we don't have to keep reinventing the wheel.
100% buy less, but buy right. Maybe buy more expensive because it's higher quality, but it's the investment, it's the understanding. I have a framework that I live by that I've taught all my clients, and I created a big YouTube series around it and product. Basically, it's the minimalist wardrobe formula. And this is something that I just think can really drastically change how you formulate your wardrobe, structure the pieces that you bring in, and also give you crazy mental clarity in every single day you get dressed. It's very intentional. It came from this theory that is the paradox of choice, which is by Barry Schwartz. And I'm not too sure if you know this study, but there was a jam study that he did. It's quite famous. This is very old. But basically, they looked at shoppers buying jam and they had all of these options. It was like lots of different flavors and things. And then there was another group that went in and there was just one option of jam. And what they found is that when we have choice, we then are suddenly overwhelmed and dissatisfied with our choices, with what we end up getting, even though as a consumer, oh, I've got all these flavors I can buy from. That's amazing. I should feel more satisfied, right, with my decision. But actually, when we limit the choice, we feel more satisfied. So the exact same approach in our wardrobe. I have had clients with, honestly, it is crazy, like 4,000 pieces, more than that. It's just insane. Even just trying to get them down, half of that is crazy. But when you have a decluttered wardrobe and a minimalist wardrobe, you are removing any sort of decision fatigue when you are trying to get dressed every single day. And if you think about the way that your brain works, if you're just wasting all this time and energy and mental power in trying to pick an outfit, you've then got the whole rest of the day to figure out. You shouldn't have to think that hard. So to break it down very simply, the minimalist wardrobe formula is breaking down into 4 tiers. It's like a pyramid that I use. The base is just 1 or 2 pieces, which is your foundation or your second skin, which is, for me, it's a white t-shirt and blue jeans. It might be a black pants, dress, anything that's just a neutral, but they're 2 or 1 to 2 pieces that you just never ever get rid of. And then the second layer is your capsule, which a lot of people talk about. That's your capsule wardrobe that is around 16 pieces. And I limit these numbers a lot because you can definitely rotate this wardrobe. Minimizing the amount is the goal because you really don't need that many clothes and you can create so many variations of beautiful outfits from a very small amount of clothes. Those are neutral basics. They're just very high quality across all of the outerwear, shorts, jeans, everything. And then we get into the 2 top layers, which I think there's the minimalism wave. Whenever I'd see stuff, I was like, oh, it's just so boring. It's all just minimalist.
That's how I feel.
Yeah, it's black and white. It's simple, it's elegant, but it wasn't me. And so these next 2 tiers is where people were like, oh, okay, so it can bring some personality. So the next tier is around 12 pieces, which is your personality basics. And this is where we start to inject some personality into it. And when I work with clients to find their style words, their style archetypes, this is where this really starts to come in. And they're basically pieces that just show a bit more personality around you. So it might be through color, it might be things that you gravitate towards. If your style is, let's say, eclectic and creative, might have some embroidery, or the silhouette might be a bit unique. So that's when they come in. And then the top of the pyramid is just 8 pieces, 6 to 8 pieces, and they're your dopamine hitting pieces. So I briefly mentioned before about dopamine dressing, which is very around, dopamine is that neurotransmitter that's released with pleasure and reward. And basically, you can get that from dressing pieces that provide dopamine hits for you. It's not the dopamine when you buy something online and you get the hit of dopamine. It's like you put it on, you feel something. And lots of people say, help me find dopamine pieces for me. And I just really try and challenge that. A lot of the time, I can't tell you how you feel. And I can help you find pieces that will express your personal style and in those sort of ways. But you really need to be the one that decides whether this piece makes you feel amazing. And that might be through color, shape, sentimental value. It might be a piece that's passed down from your grandma, or it might be that you bought and you just felt amazingly wear it, or whenever people compliment you because you're wearing it. That's the top of the pyramid. And I limit those amount of pieces because dopamine does run its course. We need to replenish dopamine. And so I think that these pieces can be highly rotating because they might be really bold and some people notice, or you wear them a lot. It doesn't release that trigger as much as it used to. But when I say replenish often, I don't know, every 6 months, and that's the wardrobe. It's hardly any pieces. There's 18 at the bottom and then there's 20 at the top. And so that's what my wardrobe is, and that's what I work with, and I just rotate things out, and if something comes in, something goes out. And when you're putting an outfit together, suddenly you've got these segments that you're working towards. In the digital guide that I have, there's formulas around start with capsule basics and then layer on your personality and dopamine pieces, and everything can have a point to it. So the capsule pieces might be 1 to 2 points, and then personality and dopamine pieces might be 3 to 4 to 5. And then you're trying to almost create a certain amount of points that your outfit then shows enough personality. It's going, okay, capsule base. Now, how can I inject some personality? How can I inject some dopamine? And then suddenly your outfit is starting to show your personality and who you are because those pieces are already expressing your style.
I love the top 2 layers of the pyramid. I mean, I love the whole thing because I have had moments in my past where I go too far with dopamine, and I'll look at my closet and it's so fun to look at because it's like a sherbet colored sequin dress and then a pink top. And then I'm like, well, I have no jeans that fit. It's like I've underdone it on the basics. So I like the method that you just outlined for us. I was taking notes. People are probably writing down how much of everything to get. But I get so sad when I see people talking about a capsule that when the recommendation for everybody, get a pair of jeans that are tailored well, get a white button down, get a black overcoat. I'm like, I don't want to look like everybody else. I feel like we're going the wrong direction here. My style icon will always be Carrie Bradshaw, who is the anti-minimalist. And there's a lot of problems there, right? She put herself into debt over shoes. But I love the expression. I love the self-expression that comes with that. And when we go back to what you're saying at the beginning and how our clothes make us feel and our identity and the emotions that we experience when we wear them, shoving ourselves into a box that's chic or sophisticated, if that doesn't feel right to us, it's not going to make us feel better. It makes us feel worse.
100%. Most of my clients come to me and go, I've got way too much of this part of the pyramid or way too little of this. And that is the best starting point because suddenly they've thought about their wardrobe and the structure. So when you're shopping, I'm sure you're probably like me. I'm very gravitated towards pieces that are like bold and personality driven. But then you come back to your wardrobe and as you say, you almost can't put an outfit together because you're like, oh, there's just too much of that. And then if you put all those pieces together, you're like, it's just chaotic. So then you're like, okay, I'm missing pieces from this area. I've got way too many pieces of that. Let's try and declutter that area of my wardrobe.
Yes, I can tell that we're the same in that. You cannot pull me away from a sparkly top in a vintage shop. I just feel like I need one more. What are your feelings? I think about, okay, well, how did we get here? I've seen different articles and publications on every woman in New York is wearing jean shorts and a white tank top this summer. Or it's like the winter of the beige blazer and everybody's doing it. And those articles typically tie things back to just an influx of content. Everybody's looking at Pinterest. Everybody's looking at the same influencers, and it's making us more the same in those theories. What's your feeling around that? We both participate in this digital content world just by the stuff we're doing here today. Do you think it's led to more self-expression or made us more like everybody else?
The world of social media is infuriating, really. I think it's made us more like everyone else, if I'm being honest. Just want to take a moment to be quite honest here. When I was developing my brand and Instagram, I definitely felt a bit of that imposter syndrome of I don't fit in here because I just feel like all the influencers are really promoting consumption and they're promoting pieces and shot this. And for a long time, I tried to keep up with that. And I was doing the work that I do. And I was like pushing a lot of consumption, or brands constantly reach out, I want to send you things. I'm like, of course, that's so exciting. I'd love to get that new bag. And then it comes and I'm like, I didn't need that. And I just felt like that wasn't really my place. And I constantly do feel like this. I'm constantly trying to search for creators that aren't in that world of just getting followers because they've bought more things. I struggle with that. And until about a year ago, where I suddenly felt I'm trying to be an educator. I'm not trying to be an influencer. And yes, I want to inspire people with new pieces. And I definitely talk about things that are on trend, but that was never the focus of my work ever. And so when I created that very clear disconnection, I suddenly realized that I don't need to be playing in this world and I don't want to be driving something that doesn't align with my values. So when I see influencers and the amount of new content around new pieces and crazy trends that are happening, it's really, really consuming and frustrating because people find it so hard to find their personal style if you're constantly looking at other people's work. From a psychology perspective, you're not having any personal agency of your decision making. So if you're just getting dressed and you're like, I saw this photo on Pinterest and I put this outfit together, you may look good, but you actually don't feel good because your brain hasn't been like, I've made this decision. I mean, I love Pinterest. I don't want to talk crap about Pinterest because it's just awesome. And I work across all these different aesthetics. So like a lot of the time I'm working with people that like aesthetics, things that I'd absolutely never wear in my life. So I'm trying to research. But if you're not doing the research, if you're not searching for the style that actually represents you and you just get served other people's style or the Copenhagen influencers style, so I'm like, okay, well, that must be my style because I've been consuming it so much subconsciously. That must be something that I like. And then you go out, you buy things, you put in your wardrobe, you don't wear it. And that's where the disconnection starts because you're buying pieces that don't represent you. So I think we start to look like everyone else. And I feel like actually a lot of my clients are almost that mid-30s older demographic because they've got past the phase of, I don't want to look like my friends. I don't want to look like the people online. This is my life. This is the things that I do love. And can you help me figure out what that looks like? And I think that's because the life stage has got past the point of I'm trying to keep up and I care about what other people think and actually gone internal and gone, I now know who I am. And maybe that's just because I've grown up and I want to be sure of myself and my decisions. Long story short, I think social media has been extremely detrimental, and especially TikTok, really hard, but not saying I'm perfect at all because I definitely get sucked in and I see brands and I see outfits that I love. And I also recommend outfits that are potentially on trend, right? Like a cowhide jacket is really nice at the moment. And I sometimes suggest things like that to my clients. How they react to that is just defines their personal style and whether they know it or not, but I'm definitely aware of what's going on.
I appreciate that transparency and the awareness. I mean, it's designed to consume us and capture our attention and make us want all this stuff, all of the platforms, even though I love Instagram, I love Pinterest, I spend time there. They know what they're doing. They're really good at serving these things up. I think what you said, that disconnect that happens when it's not even really our choice, when we see someone else doing it, I've started to notice that more. And again, I still love Pinterest, so no shade whatsoever. But I pin outfits or things. And then sometimes I go back and I'm like, okay, did I pin this because I really feel like this outfit would be amazing for me? Or did I pin it because this is a photo of a woman on a sunny day in Paris and I actually want to be in Paris? Or do I want this bathing suit or do I really want the woman's thighs that is wearing the bathing suit? And then you start to realize this isn't even about me, actually. This is just some image out there on the internet. And any minute that I spend coveting or trying to shape shift, maybe I could be more like her, which a lot of that I think happens subconsciously, but it's like, that's a waste. What a waste of time. It's fun to look at things for inspiration for sure. But I think it's pretty hard to really relate to what are the odds that you see some shirt and it's, wow, that would be the ideal shirt for me. And I don't have anything like it and I actually need it. I think that's pretty unusual. It's mostly this kind of cosplay future casting thing of how we would like to see ourselves that tricks us.
Yeah, that's 100% checking yourself. Why am I pinning this? And it's so tricky with Pinterest because all the women are like so small and just look amazing in most outfits. It's a little bit unfair. So I find that when I'm doing mood boards, especially for clients, I pull them off Pinterest, but I try and crop their heads, try and crop away things that they might just be beautiful. And you're like, oh, that outfit's amazing. But actually, you're like, that woman is beautiful and you don't look like her. I'm constantly trying to help people dress for their body type. So looking for outfits on Pinterest for mid-size, plus-size women, so challenging. The more you consume of that type of image or even the words that you speak, you start to embody those things and subconsciously you're not helping yourself in your brain because you're seeing things that don't align constantly. And then suddenly you're shopping and you're like, subconsciously, I saw all these images of these low-waisted jeans that aren't going to look good on you, but you're like, oh, but it's on my Pinterest board. So of course it's my style. It's going to be good. And you bring it in, you feel like crap. The flow on of that is way worse. Bringing in pieces that make you feel worse or don't fit you properly, get out of your wardrobe. That is my number one rule. If they don't fit you properly, if you don't feel good in them and you're like, I'm going to lose some weight and I'm going to wear that, I just don't have time for it because there's that future self. Yes, you can buy for, but if you're not feeling good right now, then you're not going to thank yourself. It's just going to stare at you every day, or you're going to try and wear it and you're going to feel bad. So get rid of it.
Definitely. And who hasn't? I don't know a woman alive who hasn't had something in her closet that she's saving for the day she gets smaller. And there's a lot of data around the toxicity that that brings into our brain just because it's like this forever unmet goal staring you in the face when you open your closet and it feels like it's going to be a motivator. You can try to spin it as positive, but data shows it isn't. How many of us have ever put those jeans back on? Most of the time you don't. And they just taunt you and it's silly. So yeah,
Yeah, 100%. You summed it up perfectly.
it's all based on your expertise. Okay, I love this path of self-expression, and I was thinking about this article that I read recently when I was prepping for this episode, and the article is called "The Death of Cool," and it was published in Tablet magazine. I'll put the link in the show notes. But I feel like this really relates when we are trying to rise above all the messages and marketing, whether it's to consume more, to be on trend, or what we're talking about on Pinterest when it's like these beautiful people and we feel like, oh, we want to be more like them. I feel like making an argument for individualism matters a lot and not necessarily rebranding that because I don't think it's that far gone, but I like the emphasis through your work that you put on this self-expression. And I just thought this article was interesting. Can I read you an excerpt?
Oh, please.
Okay. No one talks about cool people anymore. Every year, there are fewer and fewer of them. Bob Dylan, Don DeLillo, reduced to shrunken digital thumbnail versions of dorm room wall posters. Cool is an artifact of a past historical moment and style when people still cared what other people looked like, or what music actually sounded like, or whether the book you were reading might change your life. Cool was the lack of immediate availability and accessibility. Hands stuffed deep in the pockets of your black leather jacket, smoking a cigarette at the edge of the crowd, conveying both the hope of being noticed and the willingness to be overlooked.
Wow. So true.
Right?
I think we're just completely bombarded with information and content. I actually saw a reel yesterday that someone was like, if you told a girl in Europe that she was on trend, it's an insult.
Yes. And it should be in a way. Not saying like you're basic, you're a sheep, you're just going with the flow. Okay, I had to share because I can't forget about this article. Like it keeps coming into my brain. This is a very short paraphrase. It's a long article. It's a pretty cynical article, if I'm being honest. So proceed with caution if anybody wants to go read it. But I just think that last line, conveying both the hope of being noticed and the willingness to be overlooked. What else could be more true about self expression in general? We do hope our voices are heard. We have a deep human need to be seen and understood. This isn't about ostracizing ourselves from everybody, but it's also you can't really go all the way with authenticity and being yourself without risking that people aren't going to like it or that they're going to miss you or overlook you. I just felt like it was such a cool way to say that.
if you've got the money and you spend a lot of time on social media too, it's suddenly you're an influencer because you can. And I just feel like there's got to be a tipping point. I mean, don't want to go into AI, but there's just the amount of content. I just can't believe also the quality and that people produce and the amount of clothing that they can buy and have access to. There's got to be a point where this just gets too much, or people go, I can't even scroll on social media anymore. I can't do this. It's just so overwhelming. I've had so many friends that have just deleted Instagram recently and they feel amazing. It just feels like there's got to be this time in our life where something happens because there's just access to all of this. It's not good for humans. It's not natural.
I'm with you. And I do think people are awakening to it a little bit. And sometimes I think this just highlights the bubble I live in, where I have friends who've deleted it. I have friends who I've never been on TikTok, which I think is partially related to my age. There are a lot of women who I meet in the child free community who are like, we don't care about that kind of thing. We're focused on in person connection. So sometimes I'm like, no, 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 it's getting better. Look, people are awake to the fact that this isn't good for us. And then you go into the broader culture and see the statistics and you're like, oh, wait, crap, but maybe it's getting worse. And I don't have the answer to that. And we're not going to solve social media here. But I think this connection to just understanding ourselves, how we portray ourselves, and the positive role that can play. We're not talking about being performative or over consuming. Everything that you've shared with us is the opposite. And I think in some small way, living in that authenticity, it is a detachment from caring what other people are doing or posting or sharing because you can feel at home in what you're already doing for yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Like I say that I'm in the fashion business, but I'm kind of in the therapy business. It does come down to that, where it's if you have the self assuredness of who you are, and that's where we always start, then finding your archetype, right, is really going into I'm like, what hobbies do you love to do? What do you do outside of work? What stimulates you? What excites you? Do you love going to a museum, art gallery? Do you love old movies? Do you love records? There's a lot people have hobbies. You use those hobbies to tell you what type of person you are. And I think it's really challenging for people just come out of school in their early 20s because they're still developing that and they're still trying to figure out who they are. Whereas when we get a little bit older, we're more self-assured. And then when you've got that self-assuredness, that's when your clothes can start to align with that. And that's when you actually just show up as your most confident self. And people might hate my outfit, but I wear it with confidence because I'm like, I chose this, I bought this piece, it's in my wardrobe, I feel confident in what I'm wearing, and people just look at you in a way that she's self-assured, she's confident in who she is. And that is the goal. Things that string off from that, as I mentioned, your posture's good, your body language, your eye contact, that sparks connection. And connection is what humans need. And connection starts everything. They start relationships, it starts your career growth, it starts social community. When you have all of that, your life will just change. I just think we need to start with understanding who we are and really dig deep into that. If that's therapy, if that's just going down this journey of finding your style, overlapping all of that is the psychology of understanding who you are first.
What are some of the impacts you've seen when women do that? You mentioned earlier some of the feedback that you're almost desensitized, but there's a major shift for clients after they've done this work and unraveled this understanding and worked with you. What have you seen happen in people's lives?
Yeah, I had this beautiful client. She was coming out of working from home and COVID, and she'd put on quite a lot of weight, and she basically wanted a new promotion. And so, like, we worked in her wardrobe, we worked on who she was and what she was trying to portray and the colors that also relate to that type of person who she is. And in a very male dominated field, she then said she felt so confident and was able to stand up in a room, got a promotion. She also said she lost heaps of weight. Maybe there was like a feeling of self-worth that caused her to eat more or something. But that's just one of the examples. Honestly, I can't even stress enough. Every day I get an email from someone that really the work or even the video that I post has suddenly allowed them to look at their wardrobe in a completely different light. There's people that have really lost themselves after being a mom. They've got no sense of identity, had kids young, and they're trying to find out how they can show up in the world and how they can make new friends. or they've moved cities. I think moving cities or countries is quite an interesting one because people sometimes do that because they're wanting to show the new you, and clothing is the best way to do that, and trying to create this new community based on what you're wearing. Imagine they're just wearing all vintage and they've got boho style and they walk into a room and you resonate with that style because you love old music, you love reading books, you love vintage shopping. You're going to see that person and go, they look awesome. I feel like I could get on with that person. That person's just wearing a white t-shirt and jeans. No personality is showing there, right? That is totally fine. I'm not saying don't wear that, but it really does express the parts of your personality if you're trying to connect with other people. So there's so many stories, and I should really put them all down and put them on my website because I read them and I'm just like, oh, that's amazing. And then just keep moving on with my life. So the work that I do, as I said, I can't believe that I get to do this work. And I'm so grateful for the women and men that I work with.
What makes you optimistic about the future in this space? When we think about style, fashion, self-expression, what makes you excited about 2026 and beyond?
I am excited. I think the more people learn about fashion psychology, the better off they will be. And I'm not saying that from a selfish perspective, but when you have this realization that clothing does really impact your brain in positive ways, I think that people will move away from trying to dress like other people. They'll find their individual self. They'll be able to express themselves. There's the individual side, but I also feel very optimistic that when you know yourself and your sense of style, you aren't going to impulse shop. And then the flow on, deep rooted in my values, is sustainability and protecting our planet because we're absolutely killing it. Climate change is just so evident and it's really just horrifying. If I can have any direct change around the way people consume, that would be my life's mission, right? And I think when you know yourself and you know your style, I don't buy things I don't need anymore. And I used to, 100%. I'm like, definitely want to say that I'm not perfect because I used to go to H&M every lunch break. I would just buy something with Zara. And this wardrobe was just terrible. It was overflowing. I had no idea what I had. I'd buy the same thing over and over because I love a white shirt. So of course I would just get another white shirt and they just ended up, 10 white shirts. I'm optimistic that when people learn more about this and they go down this style identity journey, they will stop buying things they don't need, buy better things, invest in high quality pieces, hopefully like lifelong pieces, and we will reduce the amount of waste that we're creating.
I respect your mission so much. I am in this with you. I think it's beautiful, and the work that you're doing, as told by the emails that you get from clients, which you should definitely organize and share. That is gold for your own personal fulfillment and just to show the power of this work. You're doing it, right? You are making this shift. It's amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm super grateful for everything.
Well, I'm grateful that you came here and shared with us. For everybody listening who would like to connect with you or even work with you, where's the best place for people to get in touch?
As you mentioned, I've got a YouTube channel, obviously free content. So just go consume that. That's a huge focus for me this year. I'm just wanting to give as much value and information around all these concepts as possible. That is on there, Ellie Richards. And I also have my Instagram that I share a lot there too. Then Nuude Studio, so Nuude Studio is my business, and I'm developing some really exciting things this year. I've got some group coaching coming up and also a membership around how to put outfits together, like a weekly outfit club. And then I've got lots of products there, any digital guides, they're all lower price point too, so that people can do that, basically self-guide at home. Lots of ways you can find me, and I'm going to be very, very focused on long form videos this year.
I love it. We will make sure all of that is linked in the show notes. I recommend everything that she just said, but go watch the YouTube. You'll see what I mean, and then dive into everything else. Thank you so, so much for coming. It's been such a pleasure to talk with you.
Oh, thank you. Thanks so much for having me. I love your work as well. So it's been awesome. Love talking.
If this episode sparked something in you, come and join the conversation on Instagram at Curious Life of a Child-Free Woman. You can find more stories, guest insights, and moments that remind us why curiosity is so important. Speaking of curiosity, we're hosting our first in-person event, an evening of curiosity and conversation, February 19th here in downtown Chicago. Seats are intentionally limited and tickets are going fast. So get yours by visiting curiouslifeofatravelfreewoman.com/2026 event. And serious bonus, our keynote speaker, Trisha Brooke, has generously offered our listeners access to her free monthly workshop series. To learn more and sign up for the workshop, visit the link in the show notes. Until next time, let's stay curious together.